If you were paying attention to the news last week, you probably knew that a Waymo self-driving car was once again involved in a car accident. You know, those self-driving cars, you know, they always run into things because they don't know any better. Well, at least that's the impression you would get from a lot of different articles, including this one on Wired. In my case, people kind of know I'm into this technology. They just, my friends and some of my coworkers just approach me and say, well, see, there you go. Once again, what do you have to say about that? Well, the truth seems to be not exactly what this headline suggests. So we're going to talk about that. Also some news about Tesla Roadster. So that's interesting. And we're going to talk about some interesting law that's just about to get enacted here in California. So let's get going. Taking over the world, electrifying the world, all right, welcome to the show. If you're watching me live on Patreon, thank you for supporting the show. I really appreciate it. If you're watching me on YouTube in replay, please consider subscribing so you don't miss anything moving forward. See right here. All right, well, by the way, let me just tell you about the upcoming guests. This Saturday, I will release the interview that I've already pre-recorded with Henrik Fisker. And I got to tell you guys, there is some major news that I think he dropped on me, and I think I'll be the first one reporting on this. So you gotta stay tuned for that. I really enjoyed my interview, but there's some. I mean, again, I think this is good. This is going to be huge. So please definitely join me this Saturday. Then John LaFleur of VP, he's going to be his VP of Workhorse, going to be here this coming Saturday. I know we kind of did a little switcheroo because I had Nikki on Saturday, so you can check that out on my show. And Michael Persky, he's a CEO of Automobili Pininfarina. They are creating the very first Pininfarina car. So he will be here in 2 weeks. Should be very excited as well. But let's get back to the news. And as you can see from this Wired article, that looks like a Waymo self-driving car, you know, crashed in Arizona again, and once again there's problems. And here's another article from Slash Gear, also again suggests that something you know, that something went wrong with the self-driving car and it is to blame. But let me tell you what the truth actually happened. It's the opposite. So apparently one human driver well, ran a red light, made a mistake. Another human driver was trying to go around it to avoid the collision, and as he or she was trying to avoid it, it flew through the divider right into the self-driving Waymo car, which wasn't even self-driving. Waymo released information saying that it was actually in the manual mode. So really, two human drivers made a boo-boo and ran into a car that could be self-driving if the mode was on, and that created these headlines. And I know, as I was covering this whole Elon conference call thing last week, a lot of people were commenting that, you know what, Elon is fighting the evil media and how they report things. And you know, I don't like to put everybody in one bunch, obviously, but and as I've gone through these headlines, not all of them were like this. There were headlines saying, hey, Waymo was an accident, but it wasn't its fault. Now, of course, the question is, why are you even reporting about that? Because it's just another car crash. There are no fatalities there. So I'm not really sure what the big deal is. I mean, and I understand we all need to create stories where people click on them and watch them, but at the same time, they have to be stories. I wasn't going to cover this until I saw this. Now I got something to cover because this is not a headline that really should be there ever. And of course, let me know in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about this. If people who are you know, creating these articles, stirring things up, you know, why are we going that way, and why are they reporting this way? And by the way, Waymo was in an accident, I believe, 30 times in the last year or so, and only one time it was Waymo's fault, and the crash wasn't even that big. So just, you know, another statistics that, once again, I read probably 10 different articles, and yet this was the first time that only one article I actually read it on. About the fact that the accident where Waymo is involved is a tiny little fraction of the total accidents that they get involved in. So very unfortunate. I will, of course, keep my eye on this, but hopefully it's gonna go away after this week. But before I move on to the next story, just want to remind you that this show and this channel is sponsored by Evonex, your aftermarket accessories for Tesla. All right. Let's see the next story. Oh yeah, Elon tweeting. That's the next story. Now this kind of a random tweet, but I guess there was this one guy, Toby Turner. He was basically asking for a hardtop on a convertible. As you can see from this picture, as you remember, this was what is called Tiger Top, basically kind of not a full convertible. So you can see that, and let me actually go full screen on this one. As you can see, it is not technically a hardtop, but then in this picture that they released, as that top gets put in, installed back in there, this is what a hardtop would probably look like, unless the roof would be the same color as the car, which I can't really imagine they would do that. This looks absolutely amazing, and I'm sure they want a panoramic roof. So, but nevertheless, Elon said that yeah, he's gonna do it. It's gonna be hardtop. I gotta tell you, I'm not really in the market for the Roadster. It's not my thing, and also $250,000, a bit out of my budget. But this, if I was to pick one, I would definitely pick a hardtop. That's my preference. But nevertheless, that's good to hear. And way to put it back in the news when there is really no news. So that's that. All right, let's move on to the next story, by the way. And this one is actually a pretty big one. So here in California, we're just about to, and I guess enact a regulation. I said a law, but I believe it's a regulation where all houses that are being built in 2020 and on will have to have solar panels on it. This is why I have the one of the first houses that has solar roof on it, or solar roof. This is pretty ballsy. I mean, it's going to be the first government to require that. Now, the city of San Francisco is already requiring that for buildings under 10 stories. For the California regulation, though, there are a couple of exceptions. I believe that if the roof is too small to install those batteries or can't support it, I think you get a pass. And also, if you're like in an extremely shady area where you cannot collect enough energy and there's an alternative way of gathering or getting the green energy to your house, then you can also be exempt. So I believe Wednesday is the vote. It is expected to pass. So don't forget, this is going to increase the cost of each new house, $25,000 to $30,000, they're saying. But of course, they're saying the savings that the owner is going to get over the next 2 to 3 decades is going to be double or triple of that. I'm all for green energy, but this is a tough call, I gotta tell you, because you're kind of requiring people to spend more money on something they may not want to spend. On another hand, yeah, I'm all for green energy, so this is going to be good news. I would love to know what you guys think in the comment section. So I'm kind of torn on this one. I'm definitely don't know if how I feel about it, but if anything, this is a good beginning of the conversation. And just like I said, in San Francisco, it's not like people have poured on the streets and opposed this. I actually didn't even know that until I started researching this story. So apparently everyone's fine there, and obviously here in California we have plenty of sun and plenty of people who believe in this. And yes, long-term savings will definitely be staggering compared to what you're going to have to put up front. And of course, the cost of solar panels and solar roofs and so forth will go down as well. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for the news today. I'll see you tomorrow at around 11 a.m. here on Patreon Live, and of course in the replay on YouTube about an hour later. And until then, please remember to stay charged.